Now, what I want to talk to you about today is how to bridge the gap between Web3 and traditional businesses within the carbon markets. But very quickly, about Thalo, we're an exchange for buying, selling, and trading carbon credits built for developers, with developers in mind. Now, before I get into the presentation itself, I want to ask a few questions of the room. Firstly, who's here because they want to solve decarbonisation? They want to be supporting decarbonisation around the world? Yeah. Absolutely. Who's here because they want to increase biodiversity globally? Yeah. Who's here because they are interested in facilitating the transfer of wealth between developed to developing nations? Absolutely. Now, these are all existential issues that are wider than just Web3, and that is the why. Now, if we look at the Web3 market, the impacts of Web3 on carbon emissions, and I think it's been touched on already, it's limited if you look comparatively to wider industries or larger marketplaces. And so we really need to think about how we get these Web2 actors, where a lot of the carbon impact is, onto these Web3 platforms, how we bridge that gap. Now, I've tried to distill some of the learnings from Thalo into A's and S's. Someone did mention that it actually looks a bit like asses, so apologies for that, but it was a bit too late to change at this stage. But what our learnings have really been around external comms and product. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list. Obviously, I've only got 15 minutes, so I'd love to discuss with anyone if they've got any other things that we've missed there afterwards. So, let's get into it. Now, approach the wider market early. It's very easy to underestimate how important it is to communicate at any stage of your organization, but especially when you're early on. Now, we've identified that Web2 is where the majority of the impact is going to be, so we need to be talking to them. We need to be speaking to the people that are going to be buying your product, utilizing your software, and asking questions about the model itself. Who are we serving? Why are we serving them? What impact does it have? What responses are we getting when we're talking to these individuals or organizations? Are there any risks that they see in blockchain, and how do we overcome them? Off the back of this, you listen and adapt. Thalo, for example, has spoken to 200 plus developers, all the registries that you can think of, all the market actors that are around, and a lot of this has validated and also invalidated a lot of the product ideas that we've had. Appreciate non-commercial entities. Now, when I'm talking about non-commercial entities here, I'm talking about high leverage actors. Now, what I mean by that is your WEF, your World Bank, so on and so forth. Now, they're one point of contact, but have hundreds, potentially thousands of other contacts that you can utilize and go through. Now, what's great about that is that you have this one partnership that opens the doors to many, many others, but also, if they're working with you, then you have the benefit of their already validated respect or credibility. And what you can do at that point is add value to their networks, not just to them as an organization, but to all the people that you're talking to. Talk about blockchain, talk about how it supports the initiatives that you're working on, whether it's biodiversity, whether it's the carbon markets. What we need to be doing as a group is having conversations outside of Web3, having conversations with traditional or legacy market actors, and really talking about the benefits of what we're doing, and really just demystifying. I think we've already had a couple of comments here about education. Now, we need to demystify Web3 and demystify what benefits that it can bring. And don't just think NGOs. Like at Thalo, we're working with BEIS, which is the energy industry in the UK government, but also think maybe the Colombian automotive industry or industry bodies. These are high leverage, highly respected organizations that you can work with. Next, always look to collaborate. Realize that you can't be all things to all people. Conquer through collaboration, I think, is one of my favorite terms that we've been working on through the business, is finding people that are better than you at certain things, but also understanding your strengths. And a lot of that will come through Web3. A lot of that will be your blockchain knowledge or the innovative ideas that you've been working towards. And play a small part in a much bigger project. Find a place that you fit that can make things a lot easier for the market users that you're working with. And there, by nature of developing and implementing this project, your name is working alongside some of these bigger market actors. The right partnerships will always give you an edge. And some of the partnerships that we've got in the room today, I mean, we've been able to develop fantastic initiatives from. And it will always come back to you as well if, say, you're working with traders or MRV organizations. Them coming back to you and talking and identifying that you are the person to speak to around blockchain or whatever it may be, then you're always going to be ahead of the pack. Now, building with integrity. So now we're on to the S's. The product specifically. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, and some of the mistakes that we were making early on, was around focusing too much on blockchain. Sustainability first has always been one of the driving points for us. Talking about why we're doing this, why we all put our hands up before, and understanding that sustainability has to be the driver. Blockchain is just the tool to facilitate scale, growth, and participation. Know your audience as well. So understand that when you're building who are you building for? Is it other people in the carbon markets, in the Web3 space, sorry, or is it wider legacy actors that don't really have a full grasp of the the Web3 space? And tailor the blockchain piece accordingly. Next, security. Now, this has been fundamental to what we're building because some of the actors that we want to work with are banks, large trading organizations, large institutions and liquidity providers that are looking to work with us on a large scale. But they need to understand, they need to be confident that your platform's secure, that you've got KYC in place. They're not going to be purchasing carbon credits from North Korea, for example. Whether you are able to be custodians for carbon credits, or even FCA or SEC regulation that's coming up. We need to be ahead of the game. And what you need to do for this is work with key security partners and banking partners to alleviate the risk, not just for yourselves, but for the people that you're going to be working with. I do believe, and this is a small point, that I think decentralization can make this a little bit harder. A kind of side point to this is decentralization should be the end goal, not the starting point. If you're working with FCA or SEC, for example, then you're going to want to be able to provide the documentation that's required, and being a centralized organization to begin with is very important to that. Simple onboarding. Put yourself in the CFO shoes. So you've spoken to a product manager, a business development person, and they love what you're doing. They love what they're building. But they go to the CFO and say, look, what we're going to require is a wallet purchase. Then we need to buy cryptocurrency and put it on a DEX and then maybe into another wallet. And then we can utilize the product itself. In a lot of traditional organizations, that will fall at the first hurdle. We need to be removing friction points from the whole process. And this can involve owning custodianship wallets for carbon credits, for example. Or is cryptocurrency necessary to purchase and engage? Can you on-ramp and off-ramp on behalf of those clients? Again, it very much depends who you're talking to and who that audience is, but it's, again, about removing these friction points and making it easy for the wider markets to come on board. The next thing, and one of my favorite, is sneakiness. And what I mean by that is getting people to work with Web3 without them really realizing it. Now, one of the cool ideas that have been out there is stepping, where you get steps and you earn rewards for walking, essentially, in cryptocurrency to begin with, but then you can off-ramp. Now, we're doing something very similar at Thallo. So you get rewards for certain activities in the marketplace. They will be in the Thallo token. But rather than on-ramping or off-ramping these particular tokens for USD or whatever it may be, we're incentivizing people to utilize those tokens in the platform. So staking pools, for example, or engaging in forwards projects where people can purchase forwards projects with Thallo tokens. And this way is kind of called engagement through experiment. We're bridging the gap between Web3 actors and the normal markets in a very easy and low-touch way. Engagement through experiment. And all of this has kind of led to a really exciting initiative that I'm happy to talk about now, and goes back to some of the stuff that has been talked about earlier with eco-registry and these bridges that we're looking to engage with. The power of collaboration and the power of communication has enabled us to build a two-way bridge for bringing carbon credits on-chain for the first time and issue them back to the underlying registry. Now, this has been super exciting because we're here with some of the developers, Biofix, who are providing some of the liquidity, and then the Biocarbon Registry, who, again, both based in Colombia, we're building this two-way bridge with. And we're looking forward to launching this in November. It's super exciting because what it's going to be able to do is bring carbon credits on-chain and off-chain. So again, engaging those Web2 actors or traditional carbon market players and really open up the market for some exciting new developments. We hope this will be used as a standard for future registries and other registries as they go through the moratorium, but it's a super exciting time, and these are high-quality, high-impact registries that just perhaps aren't as well known as the others, and we're really excited to bring this forward. And of course, if anybody's interested in being a part of the first on-chain bridge, then we'll be doing that in November, and it'd be great to speak to you about it over the course of the day. So thank you very much. Here we have our Twitter. Please feel free to tag us in, reach out to me if you've got any questions, and of course just contact @thallo.io if you have any queries whatsoever. Thank you very much.